Hello there, and welcome to my arty little corner of YouTube. And there's probably various other little corners spread around and about the social media sphere of the internet as well. But it's Saturday morning, it's 5 to 8 here in South Wales in the UK. It's grey and damp out, which is fine. It's always a good day for me to settle to work when it's grey and damp. When it's sunny and shiny, I'm not so keen on it in some ways, but that's a different story. But yeah, so I'm awake, and as it's Saturday, it's time to have a look back at my work that I can share with you over the past week, because there's work I've done for the Adorable Dogs book, which I'm not going to show because it's got to be inked in and edited and everything else. I think I've done about four templates this week, which isn't as much as I wanted to do, just to give you an update, because I'm trying to feel comfortable with the style and the way of working. And there's been a couple of days this week where other things have taken over life, between one thing and another. So I tend to take my weekends on Wednesdays and Thursdays so that I can focus on template Thursday, which is the drawing you can see here for this week. And sort of Thursday this week was running errands and doing things and getting stressed out because I had to go to where there are people, and I'm not good at where there are people. So and that wipes me out for the day then. So, you know, there are reasons, but I know that I'll get my head down and suddenly it'll click and off I'll go, and there'll be loads of sketches produced. And then once the sketches are done, it doesn't take too long to ink them in, especially as I do it digitally, but that's fine. Anyway, to this. So this was this week's colouring template for the Angela Porter's colouring book group. You get to see it landscape, so you can see it in full. But I chose to do a template that was made up of lots and lots of little pictures with embellishments in between, and, you know, like a crazy kind of wall display or a cabinet of curiosity, I suppose, in a weird and wonderful way. And I like that idea of cabinets of curiosities and drawing them. My head hasn't got round what I want to do, but it's really quite nice. This is a way of putting lots of little things in without me being overwhelmed by a whole design in some ways. But it's also lovely for people to colour, as I found out when I was colouring, because you can just approach one bit of the whole of this and feel that you've finished something if you've only got a short time, or if your emotional and mental well-being isn't as good as it could be and a whole template overwhelms you. These are things that can be picked out a little at a time. It may be something you take to work, and in break time you've got enough to do a little bit because you need to de-stress and you just need those few minutes of just peace and calm to do things. So I find these particularly fun and interesting. It's quite autumn themed, although there is some Halloween spillage up here with a pumpkin and some tentacles and some skulls, but everything else is pretty much autumnal. I had to get some cute critters in. Oh, I like skulls, so skulls will appear. But other things like sycamore seeds. Now, if you've seen the one that's been edited, this is the drawing that started it all. I actually removed these weird shaped things. I was trying to draw ash keys. Keys are the names given to the seeds of ash trees. So ash keys along with the sycamore helicopters. And they just didn't look right. So I erased those and I moved this more to the middle and made it a bit bigger, which works just fine. But a lot of fun there. I enjoyed doing that. And I enjoyed adding colour. I've got a number of sketchbooks on the go. I've always got a number of sketchbooks on the go. But this is a sketchbook that really is for trying things out in, perhaps. It's a new brand. The paper is very smooth. It's quite white. I think there's a hint of grey in the paper. So it's lovely to draw on with pens. But it doesn't like coloured pencils and chalk pastels and so on very much, and it's not very keen on water. It's, you know, the information says it'll take a light wash of colour and so on, but it just doesn't feel quite right. So I decided to use this as, you know, the opportunity to try things out. So I don't know if it shows very well, but I don't know if you can see there's all white. If I perhaps pick it up closer, does that help? The white lines and texture in areas where I've coloured, and different coloured lines. That's not through me using coloured pencils with extremely sharp points. I use something called an embossing tool, which is basically a metal spike that's got a ball on the end set in a holder and indented into the paper so that the paper was where I wanted it to remain white, dips down so that no pencil could get in there. And I'm not sure whether I like this or not. Yeah, I'm not sure if I like it. These are the matte graphite pencils, and they were so and so to blend out on this. So this paper is great for just pen and ink drawing, but it won't be, you know, it might be turned into smaller sketchbooks as well, disc-bound ones in time. This is another sketchbook. I've shown you all the rest of the work in there. This is my current personal work in progress, I suppose. Well, one of a couple. Not quite sure where I'm going with this one, but it's looking rather organic with some very structured elements in it. This as I'm looking at it now, I couldn't see it for being up close, but it looks like some strange kind of cell. And here I could kick myself because I wanted to do these so they pointed in opposite, they alternated, so I created these oval shapes, and I completely lost the plot along the way, but it's fine, it doesn't matter. It's, you know, it is what it is, and it can be worked with. But I will get this finished at some point soon in the near future. So moving along, the big thing I've been doing this week is in this little sketchbook, my Patterns Explorations. It's number one here because it's my number one sketchbook of these, because I'm trying not to spend a whole day on a page because I've got work to do, as in contracted work with deadline. But I just wanted to keep things in one place and to make this a daily practice, even if it's just for a short period of time. And this is the very first page that I've done, and I choose to work in a landscape format with this one, and it's got rather busy, and I think I'm done more or less. I'm hoping that, let me just brighten up a bit. I'm not sure that works. Oh, that one. Less light. That perhaps helps. You can see some of the patterns. I've got very subtle patterning in here with, I used a chalk pastel for that, and I lightly blended it in and brushed the excess chalk off. We've got this I did yesterday, which is with the chameleon fine liners. It's very textural. And I lifted some of the colour and pattern up with water, and then added little bits in so it looked broken and as if it's catching highlights. And I actually added some white chalk, I think, eventually to that, or white charcoal. But I also worked on other bits. I thought, how can I tie all of these together? What can I do? How can I add pattern to spaces? I quite liked using colour. So I think the next area I did was this, where I chose a pen that was similar in colour to these. And it's good old Diva Dance there. And I went, I really like that. I like this feeling of water or of seaweed or something like that. And I thought, I'm not going to do pink here. Let's try that olive green, which is a darker colour. Surprisingly, that's a lot darker now, today, than I remember it yesterday. But this was quite an interesting idea. Then around this one, I wanted to create, these ones here, because I carried on that theme of the Diva Dance. I did in grey, and that works really nicely. It's quite a light grey, and it's very subtle, but it's there. Over here, blue fine liners. These were Staedtlers, and boy, are they bright. But I chose colours that would pick up the blues here, and it looks like it's running, and it's water running underneath. And I picked out a bluey grey and a paler blue here to see what would happen, which is where this came in. Oh, I wonder what would happen with that. Well, it happened, and I used white jelly roll here, which shows that depending how the light strikes it more, and over the grayer bits more as well. I finished adding colour to these embellishments here, and I added this particular motif here. I don't think I added any others. No, I haven't. But I thought it'd be quite nice to see what would happen if I had these growing out of a mound of froth, organic froth, which is what poke root looks like. It looks like froth with stems. And just to see what would happen. And everything's a bit of a funny experience, because I like the chalk pastels, but as you'll see in something else in a mo, I also like the more muted tones of graphitint more. Here I've got an explosion of colour and styles. It's a sketchbook page. It's full of ideas. It's seeing how I can make things happen or work or not. And so I'm not invested in something that looks particularly pretty, or, you know, it should belong in a photo frame or anything, or picture frame. It's just a place to store ideas and experiments and serendipitous accidents like the water. But what I discover from doing this then informs me in other ways how to approach, or what to do in other artwork if I'm going to add colour. I have started to work on the next page, but I think I'm going to do a second video today for my pattern explorations. So I'll show you that one later. And this is it's the same sketchbook, same style of sketchbook. Look at that, I haven't picked those bits off, not that it matters. I've dated it the month I started it, and I'll date it when it's complete, so I know what chronological order it's in. This is a drawing that I've done in here, I've been working on, and these are chalk pastels, and I decided I wanted to add graphitint pencils to other areas, so to use those to create shadows and washes. It's quite metallic looking and old, and, you know, sort of like weathered in some, you know, slightly weathered. But just do that a moment, just the lighting. But I've used graphitint, and I really like the graphitint, and I'm not so fussed on this. It's a bit in your face now, and so it's so hard for me to know what to do. But I finished the drawing. It's just adding finer line patterns like I've done down here to help to bring out that feeling of volume or dimension, whichever term you prefer. Up here I'm going to need highlights to really help to bring this out, and I'm trying to stick to just a couple of colours. The colours I've used are juniper, aubergine, slate green I think it is, and indigo, deep indigo. And I did use some white graphitint here to lighten the centre of this. It actually worked, but instead of colouring it on top, I picked the colour up with the brush from the tip of the pencil. So this is working. Oh look, I've made a list here. Excuse me. Oh. List of the colours I'm using in pencils so I can remember what they are, because I'll move on to something else, and I get overwhelmed by colouring, and so I tend to like to wander away and come back to it. I may add some more of these greens around here just to make it feel like it's part of, like these motifs here would work well with those greens, but the rest of it I think, and perhaps some of these swirl, you know, bits down here would, but the rest of it I'm going to definitely do in graphitint. And the only other thing I'm going to show you in this is I've started this, which is a very unusual kind of drawing for me. I've got the start of a frame here. I've got the flowers. I was going to have them tucked behind the frame, some of the stems, but I realised actually I want them all outside of that frame growing up in front of it. So I've got areas here ripe for patterns, and in here I want to use that idea of sort of like a slightly darker colour on you know, colour that's here, or to use something like a white jelly roll pen, something, you know, something like that, just to give that hint of pattern behind here. Shadow and highlight, of course, required, you know, sort of around the edge to help really turn it into a frame. Around the outside, something that's more dense is what I'm thinking. But it took me, you know, did this yesterday evening, and I just wanted to see what would happen. Flowers. Yeah. So that's it really. It doesn't look like much, but bear in mind I've had a couple of days where I've been away from me taking a pretty picture away from you while I finish the video up. There we are. I've had a couple of days away from all of this this week, and I haven't done as much work in terms of complete pieces of work because a lot of my art has been the pattern explorations, my personal time art, as opposed to my working time art, and they have been just short bursts on a daily basis to produce one full page. So there we are. That's my week in art. What's next? Well, I'm going to do my pattern explorations video separate to this, so there'll be 2 videos. And then I'm going to knuckle down for the rest of the day to get some more sketches for adorable dogs done. And I think stay in the warm and dry, because I'm not quite sure if it's going to rain much today, but we'll see. So thank you for coming and having a look. And I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's given you perhaps some inspiration or ideas of what to do. And just take care of yourselves. Be safe, be well, and I'll see you here again soon. Bye-bye.